I suppose this begins the third episode of the Game Fleet. Game Fleet?
What?
What the fuck? What the word?
You're fired.
Where did that come from?
Game feet?
No, fleet, like FLEET. I said that with like such confidence. What? Was I just reading the word fleet somewhere?
You want us to have ships in space? Is that it?
the Game Link podcast.
Great.
Anyway.
Stupid. Is this the third episode or the fourth?
This is the third episode.
Okay,
the
you think I'd know because I edited them, because...
It's been about a month. We died.
I did.
It was because someone unsubscribed and we needed time to, like, cope.
Yeah, I, genuinely died. They had to resuscitate me.
Yeah, it was pretty tough.
Yeah.
But we have some juicy new content for you, including a new segment that we plan to do every episode, called the Game Swap, where I force Screamy to play a game, and they force me to play a game.
I force you to like it. You do not get a choice.
It's true. You're physically not allowed to enjoy the game. So I chose for Screamy to play Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, which was originally a PS2 game, but they're playing the HD remaster on Steam. And I am playing Dragon Quest XI S Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch. So, I suppose I'll go first and talk a little bit about my experience with Dragon Quest. So basically what we're going to be doing is, we're going to be playing them relatively casually, and then just kind of give our thoughts up to that point in each episode. So I've played about, I think it was 6 hours or something of Dragon Quest XI.
See, you said you played 6 hours and then you told me where you were, and I was like, how slowly have you been playing this game?
Yeah,
I guess I'm not judging if you're just looking all over the place, because I know I've been playing really slowly because I've just been running into walls trying to.
Oh, also, yeah, full spoiler warning. During this segment, we're gonna go pretty in depth on what we've seen. I don't think we should hold back.
No.
On what we've seen.
I want all your opinions desperately.
Yes. So I'll make sure to put timestamps in the description like usual. So if you plan to play any of these games at some point, or you're just not interested in it, feel free to skip ahead. But yeah, how far up did I say I got? Oh yeah, I got to Dirk. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
It's been a while since I played it.
Did you actually meet him, or did you just get to the quest where you have to go find him?
I got to that, but then that was where I last messaged you, and then I played more after that. So I met him, I met Dirk, and then I left to it's hard. I'm trying to remember the names of everything. I left to go to this temple thing, and then I have to stop at Cobblestone.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know where you
sure
are. I think they call it
the
Tanglewood or whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of hard to keep track of what's going on in this game.
That's understandable. I usually forget most of what happens in that beginning portion until you get to the part where you meet the next party member after Eric. Because most of that's just tutorial until you get to the next section.
Yeah.
So you did get back to Cobblestone, is what you're saying?
No, I didn't yet. I was on my way to go back to Cobblestone, cool. And then that's when I last played. And then Shin Megami Tensei 5 came out, so I haven't played it in at least a week. But no, I was enjoying it. It's I don't know, the combat is incredibly boring at this point, which I think most people I didn't expect it to be super interesting, but it's pretty much just press attack over and over.
Yeah, that's just how RPGs have to start.
Yeah.
Until you get either more characters or more moves unlocked via levels, and
yeah.
It's the same with Nocturne. Literally, the only thing I can do right now is attack or run away.
No, that's true. I think Nocturne gets going a lot faster, but
kind of. I'll talk about that when it's my turn.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like Eric as a character. The voice acting is very cheesy.
I love it.
I can't tell if it's intentional or not. I don't know. The one character, oh god, what's her name? your like
Gemma?
childhood, yeah, Gemma. And I know that she's not the most liked, at least as far as I'm aware, but I kind of hated her.
No, that's understandable. It's okay. You don't actually have to see her for
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
She's not important. It's okay. She's just
yeah.
humanoid.
It was like she was incredibly annoying, and honestly is probably like half of the reason why I've never been able to get into this game. I've tried playing Dragon Quest 11 like 12 different times or something crazy, but every single time like I just was not interested for some reason, which is partially why I'm happy you chose this game, because like, you know,
Now you
having
have to.
some external motivation. I think that's probably my biggest problem with it. Is it's like if I wasn't doing this for the podcast, I don't think I would want to keep playing it at this point.
I think that's understandable, because I know when I played it the first time, well, my problem was I tried to play the 2D version first, which removes all the voice acting and all the cutscenes, and it's just like basically like playing an RPG on like an SNES would be, where it's just like everything's pixels and nothing really emotes very well. So I got up to the story like until you get like your 5th party member. I got all the way there, and then I stopped for months because I didn't really feel anything for it, and then I actually like went back and like forced myself to get back to that same point just to like see what was different. And by then I was like, okay, this is great, because usually when Dylan talks to me, he says the story really picks up by the time you get to like those next party members, because most of this is just like, you know, first boss fight, first party member, here's the inciting incident, here's your family, here's your horse.
Right. Also, sorry, I accidentally smacked my mic.
I'll edit it out, it's okay.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know, I think I'll like it a lot more, but like as it goes on, but it definitely has a, you know, a very traditional slow start. Like a lot of RPGs do. I don't know if I'm a fan of how cheesy it is or not. Like I constantly switch between like loving it and being annoyed by it. But yeah, I do like that everybody has dumb Scottish like English accents, but
I will say that is for a reason, because when you get to more of the towns, they're all based on different European countries for the most part. And some of them really play into like the stupid accents. So yeah, it is cheesy on purpose. Though one of my other friends has been watching it instead of playing it, and he's been watching like the Japanese voice acting, and you can tell that like the Japanese, they don't really play into the goofiness as much. That was more of a localization thing. So if that did bother you and you just like you didn't want to hear the voice actors like really play into it, then I guess that's also an option. But I prefer it because I think some of the reads are funny.
I'll probably stick with the English. Like I don't think it's bad at all. It's just like it sometimes can be a bit much. And I wanted to bring up the music because I really like the music. And then I switched out of curiosity to the original soundtrack, and then I wanted to immediately throw my television out the window.
No, see, that's a very popular Dragon Quest opinion that like everyone hates that original mix. It's because no one likes the composer who died recently. Like everyone hates that dude and his
not
MIDI
even
tracks.
like it's just bad. It's just bad to listen to.
Yes.
Like it was like my ears were bleeding, and then like I forget the name of the main town. What's the name of the big city?
Heliodor? Like the castle?
Yeah, Heliodor, yeah. Like the night theme there is only the MIDI version. So like I never want to be there at night. Oh, and here's another thing too, and actually SMT5 does this as well, and I hate it in that game as well, but much less because it's less sensitive. But I hate that text boxes advance when you just slightly move the left stick.
Oh. Does it?
Like,
I guess I've never had that problem because I usually just like let it ride, or like I'll try to read it myself. But
you have the auto on probably.
I don't usually have auto on. I just usually don't have my fingers anywhere near any of the buttons when text is
Okay,
advancing.
no, yeah, I'm not like that. I like was not used to moving the left stick doing anything while the text box would happen. So I guess I just sometimes maybe I never realized I did it until I played this game, but. Yeah, I guess just fidgeting, like, you know, would, like, move it sometimes. And then I've skipped at least, like, 6 or 7 text boxes on accident by just, like, tapping the left stick slightly.
I think there's a log. I don't remember how to get to it, but I'm pretty sure there's a text log in that game for dialogue.
That would be helpful. I will try to find that next time I play it then. And I'm sure I played through the entirety of Shin Megami Tensei 5, which also is like that, although it's significantly less sensitive. But I think after playing like 70 hours of an RPG that's also like that, it'll probably be a lot easier for me to remember not to do when I get back into DQ11. But yeah, I think I like it. It definitely doesn't have my favorite opening to a video game, but I've determined, like, I can see the charm underneath, and it has a lot of charm. If it can keep up like the variety, which it seems like it will.
It's mostly because, like, I'm pretty sure since you haven't gotten past a certain point, you haven't unlocked many things yet. Like, I don't know. Well, you have Eric, so you've probably at least unlocked some of the pet powers, which are like more battle variety. You get a lot of spells later. You have like a character builder, which should pop up every time you get a new level.
Yeah,
where, like, you can unlock certain moves.
Trees.
Yeah. And you get something called a fun-size forge later, where you, like, make
your
own
weapons. Yeah, I just got that. That's where I stopped.
Yeah,
like,
that's
right around
that's
there.
like a mini-game for making weapons and stuff, and, like, rebuilding things, so that's also pretty fun. I like that. But yeah, as you get more characters, a lot of the battle stuff gets, like, more variety, and, like, all the characters have different weapon trees you can pick for different runs, and there's also a lot of challenge modes in the menu, but you have to, like, start the game with those, I'm pretty sure, so...
Yeah,
for
no, I
first
saw
run,
those.
Not, yeah.
Like the
Draconian Quest
challenge or something like that. Yeah, close enough.
I think my favorite one of those is called Shy Pox, where it's like, if you've noticed, sometimes the enemies will waste their turn by just throwing up like a weird line of dialogue, like enemy is like drawing in the sand or they're not looking or something. Shy Pox will give your characters like those turns randomly, but it's because your character did something to embarrass themselves. I just always think it's funny, like, it'll be like character thinks there's something in their teeth and they're frozen up with embarrassment and wasted their turn.
Yeah. I also think it's funny that the freeform combat is the, like, default, because I feel like there's just this, like, weird hatred for turn-based combat that's showed up recently that, like, a lot of turn-based games are trying to find some way to, like, convince people they're not turn-based. And, like, that's kind of the freeform combat.
Yeah. I always forget that you can even run around in the battles, because there's no real purpose for it besides just...
No, exactly.
Just kind of being funny.
Just pretending to be an action game, yeah. It's like, it's so much more immersive when I walk up to the enemy and then select the menu option, rather than select the menu option and then my character walks up to the enemy.
Okay, but that's exactly how I felt playing Xenoblade, but except for in that game, you have to be close enough to the enemy for, like, the menu options to appear, which got annoying after a while.
I don't know anything about how Xenoblade combat works.
It's a lot. It's very confusing.
Is it action or turn-based?
Yes. I would consider it more action, because, like, you can try to run away from enemies, but if they have their sights on you, they can just keep attacking you until you're, like, out of their, like, attacking range. But it does kind of rely on, like, certain turns, or at least, like, speed stats.
Right.
But, like, you don't like choose attacks every turn. Your character will keep automatically attacking until you choose special moves. Which is weird to try to keep track of in real time. Especially when there's, like, no transition to, like, a battle screen. It's just all overworld. It's very strange. I feel like I'm gonna get Xenoblade fan hate now. I'm not talking about your game. I'm sorry. I'm afraid of you.
See, Xenoblade fans are... like, surprisingly not talked about nearly as much on the internet as you'd think they'd be. They're very ravenous about liking Xenoblade.
Yeah, it's usually the second game, though, which I only played the first one, but I hear nobody talk about the first one. I only hear people talk about the second one. I'm like, but I like the characters in the first one are at least kind of funny. I don't know, I like their designs better. Anyway, it's not about that. Do you have more Dragon Quest thoughts? Did you run out of them?
No, I think that's about it for, like, the first beginning of the game. Like I said, the big thing for me is I hope I see more variety, not only just in the combat, but specifically, like, in locations too. Like, if everywhere is just, which, like, I think you said, I'm sure that this will get a lot better, but if every location is just, you know, your English city named Cobbles, like, if the next place is called, like, Iron Steel or something.
Oh, no.
And then, like, the one after that is called, like, Copperhaven, and they're just like all the same place over and over
Most
again,
of
then it'll
them
kind
are
of get boring.
Most of them are more adjacent to like Heliodor, where it's like it's a lot of like larger cities and some kingdoms, but they're all based on like different parts of the world. It's more because like you'll break out of that like little tutorial section of the map you're in. As soon as you break out of that, you see a lot more variety and stuff. Again, it's more just like you're stuck in the tutorial area until a certain point where they basically just give you a teleporter and they're just like, alright, go meet your next party member.
Yeah, that's...
Get out of here.
I do think that's a little annoying.
Just a little bit. I think
it's not, but that's an RPG problem. That's not specifically a Dragon Quest problem.
Yeah,
I think that's why I like SMT 3 and 5 so much, because they don't really do that. Yeah,
I think that like the tutorial for Dragon Quest, for such a simple game, it doesn't need to be as long as it is, but I tend not to like mind going through it just because there's enough like early story beats that I find interesting. Like basically as soon as you leave your town, you get told that like a subversive fact that like, oh, you think you're the hero, this castle you came to get your quest from, they all hate you immediately or they're gonna throw you in the dungeon. And then you get a thief friend and you have to run away, and you're like an outlaw in like every city you're going to from now on because they're all looking for you.
To be fair, I also already knew that happens.
Yeah, so it's very early on.
Yeah, so maybe just like already knowing that fact made the like quote unquote twist not as like interesting to me.
That's fine.
But yeah, I don't know. It's like weird because it's like I try to like this game so much, and I do think I will like it once I get into it. But it's like I'm a pretty stubborn person, so the fact that for some reason
understandable.
I still haven't like gotten this. Like this is the furthest I've ever gotten in the game. Like the fact that I still like it took me this long to get this far in the game is incredibly surprising to me. But anyways, that's pretty much all I have to say.
I think it's one of those games where like...
move over to... Here, no, go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say, personally, I think I liked the game more my second playthrough when I played it on stream, where like I kind of knew more of the story beats, because like, I knew that like some of the beginning parts were like forgettable to me, but like going back through it, and there's like a lot of foreshadowing, and they do some like connective tissue stuff. Like I liked seeing other people react to it as I went through the game again, when like the plot didn't surprise me and I already liked all these characters. So maybe that's like a thing. But I do remember like the first time I played it, I had a little bit of trouble getting into it early on for like the tutorial beginning reasons and all of that.
Right.
But I do like running around the big overworld and like smashing pots and stuff.
the pot smashing animation is easily the best part of the game.
Just drops it.
So so calm. And like I'll just like walk into a room. It's like it's even better than like it is in Zelda games, because you just like walk into a room, be like, oh hi Mark, and then just like walk over and then pick up its pot and then drop it onto the ground and then pick up like this.
At least in Zelda you throw it, but like 11 literally just picks it up and then it like just tumbles out of your hands, like you immediately let it go.
Yeah. Yep.
It's great. Okay.
Alright, and then shall we compare that to SMT3 Nocturne, which unfortunately has no pots to smash, so is therefore a worse game.
Infuriating.
How far did you... How many hours did you play? Like an hour and a half?
Yeah, my file said about an hour and a half. I thought I was playing it for about 3 hours, although that might just be because, like, in between it, I was messaging some people and, like, asking you questions, so I don't think it clocked that runtime. But I don't think I got to the first boss. I know that, like, Fornius is definitely the boss, and then I'm pretty sure I'm, like, 2 rooms away from him or something. Because I got to the part where, like, I don't know if you would remember this so early into the game, but like you're going through...
I remember a lot from that game, so probably.
You're going through the hospital and you like wrap around the hospital and like unlocked the locked door in like the first section. Yep. Okay, yeah, that's where I got. I paused right after that because it let me back into like my first save point, and I'm like, okay, well while I'm standing here,
that makes sense.
I'll just stop instead of keep going, because I didn't know when the next save point would be. I mean, I figured most RPGs give you a save point right before bosses and like a healing spot, but I wasn't quite sure for SMT because I know it's known for being difficult.
Right.
So I didn't want to chance it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely don't assume anything. There are some times where I was like, yep, there will be a save point up ahead, so I don't think I need to go back. And then like just around the corner. Yep. All right, just a little bit more.
No.
And then like it would end up being like way after that, and they just kind of expected me to go back. But it's usually they're pretty good about that, and they definitely I will say before Fornius there will be another save point.
Okay, I figured so early in the game, like, they have to be a little nice to you.
Yeah.
Just like a little.
They don't really teach you anything, but they
I've
try
noticed.
to they try to design things in a way that you have to learn yourself, or like you won't be able to
Yeah.
keep going. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say without like talking about future bosses.
No,
and
yeah,
stuff like that,
I was gonna talk about that. Because, like, I didn't really know how to feel about it. Because my thing with, like, openings in games is that they're very difficult to do. Because a lot of people really hate blatant, like, menu tutorials. And a lot of people, like, kind of need them. Because, like, they're not as intuitive a person. Like, if they're forced to figure things out via playing it for, like, an hour, they'll, like, just hate it and, like, get bored of it. Because they'll get frustrated. So it's a very weird line to, like, needle to thread. Because you said that Nocturne starts pretty much immediately. Something I disagreed with as soon as I started playing it, and was like, I'm waiting for this damn plot to start because no one's giving me a reason to care right now. At least like before. Okay, so and this was like my thought process when going through the opening. It was like they tell you to name your character, and then you're like in the train station, and they ask you to name 2 more characters before like you even see anyone else. And I was like, okay, I don't know who these are, but sure. And then I like left, and there was like a map plot. And, like, they didn't explain to me, like, what the map was for, like, where I was supposed to be heading on it, so I was like, okay. So I just sort of went around talking to everyone, and, like, most of the places were empty. And then the one thing that frustrated me was, like, there's the plot in the middle, where I think is, like, the park that's, like, blocked off, and one of the entrances is blocked off, and there's a second entrance right next to it, so I assumed, like, gamer brain, I'm like, okay, so that's just, like, an alternate entrance. They're both gonna be blocked. So I went everywhere else first, until I realized that, no, it just wanted me to go in through the back. Until it, like, triggered the next cutscene. And then, like, it tells you to go to the hospital and find your teacher, and I kept wondering, I'm like, why is the teacher in the hospital? Where do I go to school? Who am I? Who are these, like, friends that I have? It wasn't really telling me any of that. It was just like, isn't this hospital kind of weird? It's really empty. I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, I don't know who I am. I don't know who you people are. And then suddenly the world ends, and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is cool. I'm sure you'll explain this to me later. I think this is also a case of, like, if this wasn't something you were telling me to play, I don't know if I'd stick with it, because usually when I have a lot of those questions of, like, this isn't being explained to me very well, and I'm, like, just kind of running around an empty room in circles until, like, the plot kicks in, I don't tend to enjoy that as much. I think I would like it more, like, if there were more things to interact with in that first, like, that opening area of the hospital, because I kept trying to interact with basically every object there, and there just, like, wasn't anything to look at besides, like, the vending machine. The characters had, like, one repeating line of dialogue where they were just like, go look for your friend, go look for your teacher in the basement, I'll wait here. And I'm like, okay, but I want to explore this building first, which had nothing in it. I was like, okay, I just don't know what's happening.
Yeah, the game, before the conception, like, nothing really, like, happens. Pretty much the only thing you can do before then is just, like, talk to the people.
Yeah. And then even after the conception, because they explain the conception in that kind of, like, verbose, like, holier-than-thou cult way, which is believable. But they were telling this to me, and I'm like, I still don't know what's happening. And then the world ends, and then a child feeds you a bug, and you turn into a demon. And I'm like...
Yeah,
okay.
You're definitely supposed to be confused. Pretty much
that seems like the whole thing, because the characters kept being like, you look confused, and I'm like, boy, am I.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's kind of what I meant when I said, like, gets right to it, is that, like, now, like, you're playing the game. Like, the way that, it's not like I'm, you know, what, like, 6 hours into DQ11, and I'm still in the tutorial area, like, you know, it takes like maybe 30 minutes or something, and then once the conception happens and you wake up, everything you're doing now, like, that's just how the game is.
For the most part, I still don't know what I'm doing is the thing. Mostly just because, like, they gave me a bunch of new menu items, and then didn't explain any of them, and we're still like, alright, go explore the hospital again, with, like, and there were, like, more NPCs to talk to in it, with, like, leading dialogue, kind of, like, implying what you had to do. But still not enough to, like, really give me a goal or anything. It was more just kind of, like, run around and figure it out. And I was like, well, you can't give me, like, a hint or anything. It's just, like, I'm blue now. I'm running around. I guess I have to beat this big sea pancake that's flying. I did figure out the battle mechanic, I mean, you can't not figure it out. It's literally one option. Like, attack or run away, and I was like, okay, that's every RPG. And then they sort of explained the recruitment mechanic. They didn't. I just basically had to figure that out myself, which isn't a bad thing, because I tend to do that in video games anyway. But I'm kind of more waiting for them to, like, maybe explain it in more detail, or with a certain kind of nuance, because I can tell you can't recruit every monster, but I still haven't figured out, like, what lets you do it and what doesn't let you do it, or if there's, like, what monsters you even want to recruit, or, like, why I'm doing this, besides just so that I don't die,
Right.
I guess.
Right. They definitely, they want you to try things out. Like,
yeah.
they don't... And it's something that, like, they kind of have changed a lot, but I'll just kind of explain it. Like, so demons have different races. It's like different categories. Like, Pixie, for example, is a fairy.
Yes. I know.
And different, certain races of demons just, like, can't speak at all. So if you try to, basically think of it like this, like, if you try to talk to a demon and then it's just like and then, like, nothing happens, then, like, pay attention to what race it is, because there's a high chance that just, like I know the Haunt race, which includes, like, the Predas, like, you just can't recruit them at all. You have to get them through other methods.
I was saying, I'm pretty sure I have a Preda on my team, but that was because after I finished a battle, it was like, hey, let me come with you, and I was like, sure.
Yeah.
And then it came with me.
They definitely have a problem because they put way too many unrecruitable demons near the beginning, so...
Okay, that makes sense, because I keep trying to, like, do it through battle in, like, what I assume the game would want me to do, but, like, none of the demons in battle are responding in any way, so I'm like, is this just, like, a demon I can't recruit, or am I doing something wrong? I have no idea.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's definitely a lot more of the, like you said, I'm a lot more on the side of, like, I don't like just being explicitly told what to do. Like, I don't necessarily have a problem with it if, like, a game has just, like, a menu tutorial. Like, I'm not instantly like, oh, this game sucks. But I do I vastly prefer when the game gives me the tools to figure something out myself.
Yeah.
So, like, when I first realized, like, oh, I can't recruit these guys because they're, like, I realized, like, all the ones that I couldn't talk to were all of the same, like, race. I was like, oh, that's cool. So now I know when I see this race, I know not to do it, and I felt like I'd figured something out on my own. But that is something that, like, for example, I know in SMT4, you almost like very early on get an upgrade that lets you, like, it's like called like a translator, basically, that lets you talk to the demons of races that can't speak. And then in SMT5, they just don't have that at all. Like,
okay.
You can just talk to every single demon.
They're just all your best.
Which I don't know if I like or not. But yeah, so it's yeah, it's definitely a lot. There's I think you might have missed her. I don't remember if it's before or after where you are, but there is an NPC that if you would have talked to, she asks you, like, what kind of future you want.
Yes, I did see that, and, like, the dialogue I got seemed kind of obvious, because mostly I couldn't tell if it was, like, metaphor or not, or if it was just, like, a vague tutorial, but it's like, if you want to win, like, see your enemy's weaknesses, try different powers, and if you want to lose, like, just keep hitting it over and over and, like, watch it deflect. And I was like, yeah,
Right.
That seems kind of obvious.
Yeah, she was trying to explain the press turn system. So I don't know, have you leveled up and, like, learned any new skills?
Yes.
Attacks are called skills.
Yeah, I have a few times. I think my main character is, like, level 5 or 6 or something, and the two demons I have with me are, like, both level 4.
Okay.
I've just been running around in circles leveling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what she was trying to explain is it's called the press turn combat system, which is it's kind of like what SMT is known for, and this is actually the first SMT game to have it. Everyone before this was just, like, you know, your standard, like, I go then you go sort of thing. But basically, like, you probably noticed you have, like, the different icons in the top right that can look like dragon heads.
Mm-hmm.
Each one of those...
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I did kind of notice that, though it wasn't through what she was saying. It was mostly because I've played games like Octopath where, like, it'll show, like, the enemy turn, and, like, when they use up their turn, it'll, like, use up the icon in the corner, and I noticed that sometimes monsters, if they, like, used an attack that was too much or they missed or something, it would use 2 of the dragon heads instead of 1, and then it would skip to the next turn. But
right.
I didn't realize triggering that was, like, my more powerful abilities, because I didn't notice when I was doing it. I only noticed it when, like, the demons were doing it during their turn.
Right. Well, actually, so how it works is that anytime, and this is what the old lady demon, I call her Mop Grandma. I always
She
forget
does
what
look like a
she's
mop.
actually called. What Mop Grandma is trying to teach you is that when you hit weaknesses or you crit, you don't use up your turn icon. It actually begins flashing. People call it a half turn. However, if you miss or you like hit something like an element that the enemy like nulls, then you use up 2 turn icons. So basically, think of it like this: if like let's just say there was an enemy who was weak to physical attacks, then when I just like use my attack against them, and let's say it was just the main character, the Demi-Fiend, that's what he's called. Like, if it was just the Demi-Fiend, I had no demons, and I was fighting against just one other demon that was weak to physical, then I do an attack, my physical attack, and then instead of using up my turn icon, it would start flashing and become a half turn, meaning I could go again. So then I would use another physical attack, which is weak, but because it's already a half turn, I can't get another turn. So think of it like this: you can double the amount of turns that you have
by being good.
Yes, by hitting, by getting crits or by hitting weaknesses. But if you use things that the enemy nulls, or like, for some examples, like if you hit something the enemy absorbs or reflects, then it uses up all of your press turn icons.
Okay.
So basically, it heavily rewards you for playing into the enemy's weaknesses, and then like super punishes you for not. It gets very what's the word I'm looking for? They're very like glass cannon in a lot of ways, where you have a lot of opportunities to do like a shit ton of damage, and then you also have a lot of opportunities to not do that.
Understandable. I think this I'm not saying like this is like a game design constant and that like it's a bad thing. I just think that like the way you had to explain that to me when the game tried to do it through like a few lines of dialogue that were like kind of like they didn't go into depth or anything, or they didn't like show the menu. I think that's kind of my problem with it. Like I like the idea of like instead of block tutorials, you have to talk to the NPCs and they kind of like feed you information and you figure it out yourself. But when you're like immediately thrown into like now you can do battle and now you can recruit demons, and they don't really even give you like a much of a hint of where to start with that, or even like what these menus mean, and they're like figure it out yourself or like try to figure it out through these other characters. I'm not very smart, so I tend to like that less. I prefer it at least when games with like really weird systems, like menu systems and stuff, like I was gonna talk about this later, but Somnium Files is a really weird system of like puzzles and menus, and they basically, like, when the game starts, they throw up like a text box that's like, here's what your buttons mean, here's what this will do, cool, and then they close it, and then they're like, if you need it, it's just like in a different menu later. I prefer that. Like, it doesn't waste a bunch of your time, but it's just kind of like a visual, like, this is what it looks like, so you can find it and you know right away, and you'll have time to figure it out for yourself, but here's like, we're telling you. Here you go. So, I don't know. And also just like, I didn't really like the opening. I kind of wish that like if it was going to be snappy, it would have started a bit sooner, or it would have like let the character develop a little bit more, because like if they didn't give me a reason to care about the world or anything before it was destroyed, or like know any of the characters. It was more just like you're out of the train station, you're in the hospital, and then the world's destroyed. So most of it was just like I don't really know what's happening. I think if like I actually think if the intro was a bit longer, it would have hit me better, which is maybe why I prefer things like Dragon Quest, where they introduce you to like the character and like this unimportant hub hometown first before they let you go off, because it gives you more of a reason to care, I guess. I mean, if you're the kind of person who would care, and I guess I am. So, because I am interested in the world, it just feels more like they're not giving me information when I'm looking for it. It's just more like you have to wait to get it later, which I'm not really jiving with, but that's fine.
That's definitely that's actually a pretty like common criticism of the game in general. So it doesn't surprise me to hear that. Common. Yeah. I'm more of a like world-centric gamer, I guess. I think a lot of people play like they like character-driven things and they want to be invested in characters and feel like they're playing like a relatable game. For me, at least, I was interested enough in like the fuck, like why did the world just end? And like what the hell is going on, that like, and pretty much all you have right now, right, is that your teacher told, like, Mr. Cow told you, like, if you come find me, I will explain everything. So that's pretty much all you have to go off of, is that like your friends are gone somewhere. Every single human in the world died except for the ones in that hospital,
and some of them are dead
and like
too.
Yeah,
less spirits.
Yeah, and so, like, now it's just up to you to go and, like, figure out what is happening, and for me, that curiosity was enough to drive me forward, but I don't
think I'm not like that. I think, for the most part, I usually relate more to, like, world building through characters who are, like, from parts of the world and can, like, explain it through their experience more, but I was interested in, like, the world ending. I think, like, instead of, like, going, like, the character route, I think I would have preferred it if, like, the game started, like, with the world ending, because instead of like having to walk through the train station and through the empty hospital with like nothing happening, I would have preferred the confusion of like, hey, why did the world end immediately? Who's this person telling me to go find her? What the hell just happened? Instead of more just like kind of waiting for like that cataclysm to go off and like seeing these characters who I had to name and then like leave immediately. I think I would have more liked like an instant gratification rather than the lead up. Either way. Okay. I don't think it's bad. I do think it is interesting. It was more just kind of like I was more stuck on like the fact that I really wanted to interact with everything, because I think the idea of weird twisted hospital is interesting. It was just more that like I couldn't find any supplemental information, like papers on a desk or writing on a wall or anything. It was just me smacking into walls, running around trying to check everything. I was like, oh man.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Alright, anything else to say before we move on to totally related game, Mario Party Superstars?
No, I think I'm good. I think the little child looks hilarious.
The one who fed you the bug thing?
Yeah, I think it's funny just because, like, maybe it's just, like, the models they use, but it looks like a fully grown adult just, like, shrunken vertically.
Yeah, it's...
I just started laughing when I saw him.
That's the other thing, too. This is not a very good remaster, I'm gonna be honest. It's very lazy. It's not a worse version of the game by any means. Like, it's no GTA Trilogy. We'll talk about that later. But,
please God,
like, it's definitely has, like... It's definitely, in my opinion, probably a more enjoyable version to play. Because, like, it has features, for example, like the suspend feature. So if you were playing the original, you would have had to either go all the way back to... Well, actually, you did go back to save point because you got to when it loops around. Yeah. But, like, you wouldn't... Yeah, like, if you wanted to stop, you would have to go back or forward to save point. Like, you couldn't just stop whenever. And there's more features that I can't really explain now because, like, they'd make no sense
quality of
without
life
context.
Features for the most part.
Yeah, and, also the original doesn't have any voice acting.
Oh.
Which... Yeah,
okay.
Is something that a lot of people are surprised by because the voice acting in the remaster is just very natural. Like, it just feels like it's meant to be there. But yeah, no, in the original, there's just none at all. So, it's all text boxes. But yeah, so I'm excited to see more. I do think the press turn combat system, well, it isn't explained. I do think if I had given it more time, it probably would have started to click, because you're at a point right now where it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I did a little bit. Like, I could tell when, like, the enemies fudged their turn, like, it ended their turn immediately. And I was kind of like curious about that, but I didn't realize that it was trying to explain it to me. Also with like the quality of life features, I do find it funny that we're both playing like a game's like HD version. I mean, you're playing the quote-unquote definitive edition, because your version also has some quality of life updates. Like I think all the Draconian quests are new. A lot of the outfits you can put your funny characters in are new. I don't know if you like went to the menu and got like the downloadable content that's free that comes with it, but you get a bunch of free items for that. And one of them's an outfit for Eric. And the main thing that it adds, I can't even say, but they add like a bunch of story beats at a certain point to like explain some stuff.
Yeah, so. I do know that there's like and I learned this before I even planned on playing it when I was watching my cousin play it. But I when I was complaining about Gemma, he was basically, I do know that in the original version, like, you just kind of default to end up romancing her or something like that, and then now they've opened that up more to let you romance, like, I know my cousin's obsessed with Jade. I don't know anything about her other than that her name is Jade, and that I think you can romance, and that you can probably romance her, and that's probably why I likes her, but,
you can actually romance any of your romance in quotation marks. It's a post-game thing. You can romance any member of your party, and because they changed it from marriage to like you spend the rest of your days questing with them. So you can do it with Eric, you can do it with, I can't name anyone else, but the default was Gemma.
Thank God
so you
there's
can
no gay people.
The one with Eric is incredibly gay, because everyone who plays this game, they take this screenshot of, like, the Luminary and Eric sitting on a field looking at each other out of context, because they're just, like, smiling at each other. It's like, alright, I get it.
And then they made out as questing companions.
And good for them.
Oh. No, but yeah.
Okay.
What's alright, we were gonna talk about Mario Party, but,
yes!
yeah. So... I was gonna say we were gonna talk about Mario Party, but I didn't want to have to make you talk about 2 games in a row.
No, it's okay.
But you sound excited enough that I feel like I take that back. So,
well, it's not just about Mario Party. I think the segment's more like the games we've been playing recently.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna say this so it's easier for you to like split the video parts.
Yeah, I wrote down a list of basically just every game we've been playing or just things we want to talk about. So, yeah, I have not played Superstars yet, but it is like a remake. I just don't want to spend money, man.
I know.
If I just like had disposable income enough to where I didn't have to care, I would have already purchased it.
Someone needs to employ me now. I literally had a job interview yesterday morning, and they were like, "We'll text you if we're interested," and I haven't gotten a text back. I'm like, "Damn it! I want your money."
Well, yeah. No,
Fine.
Oh shit! What was I about to say? Oh god, my brain stopped working. Where am I? Oh right. No, I watched some like streams of it and some gameplay, and it looks genuinely fun. So I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. I saw on the Switch that you've already played like 60 hours of it, which I was.
Have I?
Because yes, I thought it was like. Well, I thought I was like insane for having played like 70 hours of SMT5 already. But like then I saw you'd played 60 hours of Superstars, and I was like, holy shit, that's like even more impressive, because it's not even like an RPG where
there's no story.
It's not like a 60-hour game that then like has a bunch of post-game content. It's just like it's Mario Party. So I was very like this isn't a criticism at all. This is like me being impressed.
Thank
so
you.
Please explain more about Mario Party.
It's funny because a lot of my friends have played more than me, because like basically every time they were trying to do a board, I was in a meeting for my internship, and I was just like, let me in. But I have a lot of thoughts. I almost feel compelled to explain for people who don't know, because I don't even know how popular Superstars would be for like gamer types, because it's a party game for families. Like I don't think many gamers were as excited about this as I was, because everyone was talking about like they were talking about Dread, and then I walk into the GameStop to get Mario Party, and I'm like, I'm here for Mario Party Superstars. Give it to me. But
great. Had Dread been out last episode we did?
I think so. Maybe it was like right before.
I don't remember. I'm gonna write that down. Okay,
just
sorry.
to talk
continue.
about it a little bit.
I mean, if we didn't talk about it, I do want to talk about it. So I'll make it brief though if we do.
It's fine. But yeah, it's basically just a collection. It's mostly the collection of like the first 3 Mario parties for the NES, but it's basically one of every quote unquote main series title, as in it's all the Mario parties except for the ones on DS, which is kind of mean, but whatever.
DS is such a weird platform, in my opinion, to have Mario Party on. I guess maybe less DS because of like DS download play, but like
yeah, I mean
I don't know.
The Mario Party DS version came out around the time where like it was before online play, and it was more that like you had to be in person doing the DS download play with people to play it. So it did make sense at the time. I understand why it wouldn't translate well, but I do think that that version has a lot of the best minigames. But all 5 of the boards are from the N64 versions. They're made in HD, they look very nice. And then all the minigames are compiled from the 10 major Mario Party titles. I find it funny that a lot of the new Mario parties have like less minigames, because I think they figured out that a lot of the people really don't like the new Mario parties at all, and those are the worst minigames, I would say. There's like 1 minigame from Mario Party 10 and like 2 from 9. It's like, okay, great, we've established that nobody liked these. But everyone was excited because they went back to their roots in kind of the same way they tried to for, what was that other one? Super Mario Party? Yeah, that was the one that came before this. Which, like, they got rid of the car. It's basically just, like, old Mario Party rules. They added chance time back, which means murder. They added one of the control stick spinners back, which I found hilarious, because those were only in the first Mario Party, and they had to remove them because they got sued from kids putting their palm on the joystick and, like, wiggling it around. So they had to put a warning there to, like, tell kids.
Warning, I saw that.
I love that. And, of course, that's how I play them now. I'm like, no, I want calluses from my childhood. The boards are pretty much 1-to-1. They fixed the rules, because a lot of the rules from Super were really weird, because, like, they changed a lot of the item prices, and the boards were a lot smaller. It just felt, like, slightly off, like they were getting closer, but it wasn't. So
I think the boards were, like, the worst part of Super Mario Party.
Yeah, they just weren't interesting, but basically all the boards in Superstars have, like, the same gimmicks, and they all have their own unique gimmicks, so there's, like, a reason to play every single one of them, and to, like, understand them more. And I don't know, I like the minigame selection they chose a lot, because when they came out with Mario Party 100 minigames for the 3DS, it was, like, evil, because they specifically picked all the, like, really weird minigames that no one really likes, which is why everyone hates that game, and I felt like I was ripped off by it. But they did add, like, specifically a lot of the fan favorite minigames they showed in a lot of the trailers and stuff to, like, hype people up who are weirdly into Mario Party like I am. And I really like, well, first of all, they added online mode, which is the first time a Mario Party's done that ever, which is...
And isn't it decent as long as you don't play with a British person?
Oh, no, even if you play with a British person, it's really good. The only time I had connection issues was weirdly when I was playing on local with, like, Dylan in the room. But even then, they have a system where it's, like, the best online system I've ever seen for a multiplayer game. If you're playing a board, even if you're playing it with randoms instead of just your friends, if you drop out, it'll put a CPU in your place until you can get back on. So, like, it won't stop the board for any reason. Like, it'll just have a computer, like, keep up with you until you can, like, get back in the game, like, the next turn. And there's actually a function for where if you're playing with friends, you can, like, stop a game in the middle of it and, like, save it. And it'll save on your system. And if you drop out, like, as soon as you restart, it'll tell you, like, hey, you were in the middle of a game, do you want to try to reconnect? And then it'll let you do it pretty much immediately.
That's cool.
It's really nice of them. I appreciated it, because everyone was kind of wondering, like, oh, Nintendo's online is kind of shitty. Like, what's gonna happen if you drop out? And they're like, we thought of this for once. We got
this time we took our own shittiness into account.
Yeah, we fixed it. It's fine. But yeah.
Fix the problem we created. You're welcome.
You're welcome. But yeah, the internet's pretty good. I've never really dropped out playing with randoms. And I like playing with randoms because they added this function where, like, you have a tab on the bottom you can pull up, and it's a bunch of, like, reaction stickers.
Yeah.
And you unlock them with coins as you go on, which is, like, incentive to keep playing. But yeah. They are like the taunts, but a lot of them have... I like the edits that people do on Twitter where they, like, replace the dialogue with, like, really long strings of curses, which is, like, what you actually want to say to people. But a lot of them have like pictures of the items or like pictures of different characters. So even when I'm playing with my friends and someone uses like a chomp call or whatever, we'll all use the chomp call sticker that just plays like a whistle sound effect, and we'll just keep using it over and over. It's just like fucking so-called free thinkers when someone. It's just like instinctive.
The bullet bill one.
Yeah.
I remember the bullet bill one has like, it sounds almost like a vine boom sound effect.
Yeah. It's
so
really
like
good.
whenever I was watching gameplay and I would see someone use that, I would just like I could not stop thinking about like just being like boom.
You just
like
explode.
I can't wait for the fucking Dwayne the Rock sticker.
So true. So yeah, like they have enough stickers to make it like you can actually communicate with people if you try hard enough, because I felt a weird kinship with this person I was playing with online mode, where like basically every time something happened we respond with stickers to each other, so like I could tell they were trying to talk back, and that just felt wholesomely nice in a way that I feel like voice chat can't replicate. So it's just like, I've made a friend this day over Mario Party, and then we both lost, but it was okay. Because everyone used congratulations at the end, like good sports.
And then you go and like your last most recently played or whatever, and you go to that person's profile, it says like, last played 12 hours ago. Status, goodbye. Like, and then just never online again, and then you just like live forever like, no!
You live
Jim
wondering.
Bean XX27.
You were my favorite Luigi player, come back! But yeah.
No, but yeah. Are you excited for the battle pass?
Yeah.
Oh, no, sorry, wrong game. That's Call of Duty Vanguard.
Damn. They just add a battle pass.
Wait, shit, we're not. I thought we were talking about Call of Duty this entire time.
Damn, Mario's in Call of Duty? Holy shit!
Alright, anything else to say about Mario Party?
Yeah, I have one more thing. They have a few modes. I think the one thing they like slack on is that usually the old Mario parties would have this kind of like story mode, or it's not really a story mode, it's like a minigame mode where like they just put you in a bunch of random minigames. And instead of that, they kind of just have like a challenge mode where you play minigames like with a bunch of random people, and it'll like give you a counter for every one you win and like keep your score until you lose and then it resets, which is kind of interesting because now there's like a leaderboard of Mario Party minigame players and you can feel bad. But I think an interesting thing they did with that is well, when you're waiting for randoms to load in any game, it'll automatically play like a minigame like next to the loading bar, so you can like play a minigame against a bunch of CPUs while you wait instead of just sitting there, which is nice. But also when you're doing the challenge mode with a bunch of randoms, it'll pit you against like 3 different characters. But because the game only has 8 playable characters, I didn't realize they did this, but the characters they show you aren't actually the characters like the people you're up against are playing as. They just kind of give you characters that aren't your own so you don't get confused. Because you can't have like 2 Peaches or anything, so I was like, oh, I think that's a neat bit of code that like they just show you different characters while you're playing as your own. Because I originally thought that like they would only pit you with people who weren't playing as your same characters, but I guess it makes more sense that like they just show you different ones.
That's weird to think about, like just imagining like being like, ah, yes, here I am as Peach, and then like on someone else's screen I'm like fucking Waluigi, like
yeah. It's like, huh. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because it shows your score next to your profile and not your character anyway, so it's attributed to you, but it's just like,
right.
I guess I never really thought about that. And I also like the fact that they give you little cards to customize, like you have your name, you can choose a bunch of different titles, you can choose like a backdrop and your favorite 4 minigames and your favorite Mario Party game. Like, it's small, but I'm like, oh look, I can see all these people's cards.
That reminds me of guild cards from Monster Hunter. You get like this card that is like just full of your stats, and you can like set your own picture and create a title and like a description, and then it'll list like every single monster you've killed and how many quests you've done and how many quests you've done with each weapon type, and you can like send them to different people. I always love it when games do that.
Yeah,
like,
I love that too, because I'm just like, oh, I can actually see these people I'm playing against, so they actually feel like players instead of like randoms.
and I don't know if you can in Mario Party, but in Monster Hunter you can like save them. So I just have like
Yes, it'll
anytime I play with
auto-save
people
anyone
online,
you come
yeah.
across.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's even cooler. They used to do that in Monster Hunter. They used to have the option to like auto send your guild card to anyone you play with online. But they for some reason don't have it in Rise. I don't know if it was in World or not because I didn't really use guild cards in World. But yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of sad because I really like collecting guild cards. So every single I have like an auto chat message every time I play with someone that I always spam where I'm like, send me your guild cards.
Give them to me, I want to know. Yeah, instead of like, I think it's basically every time you play against anyone, no matter what, it'll save to what it calls your album, which you can check at any time and just like scroll through everyone you've ever come across. It's kind of neat. It's just like a little scrapbook of your besties, and it'll show how long people have played the game too, so you can judge them accordingly. Just says fucking 60 hours at the top of my card.
Wow.
It's like, yeah, I have problems, what about it? Leave me alone.
It just says too much. Like, they don't even put a number.
Yeah, too much, lol. Please get help.
Yeah, I'm very happy that there's finally a good Mario Party game for the first time since like Mario Party 8.
Yeah. I'm glad you like
Super Mario Party was pretty
It was
decent,
alright.
actually.
I liked the like optional modes more than like the actual boards. Like the dance mode I thought was really fun, but like trying to play the boards, especially on my own, because I never had people over to play with, which is why I like the online mode a lot, so I'm like, I was always like, I don't want to play Mario Party on my own, that's sad. That's depressing.
I liked the concept of like having different dice for different characters, and I liked the minigames a lot. But everything else was pretty...
I liked the dice concept, but like, it felt a little weird, because now like, characters have tiers in Mario Party based on like their dice roll options. Like,
I guess, but I don't know. I just chose not to care. Like I just was always Bowser, and I was
exactly. I was also Bowser.
Dice. Yeah. I mean, it's fun. Like what? Like you roll like a 1, like a 0, a 1, or a 9 or a 10. So
yeah, just fucking cheese the whole board. Yeah.
It's just fun, but. Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just happy that there's a good one, and hopefully I will be able to own it myself someday. Anything else you want to say?
No, I just think it's fun. Sometimes games are just fun.
That is true. Those are usually the good ones.
Exactly. Alright, what do you want to talk about next, bestie?
I will do my best to not obsess over it too much. But I want to talk about SMT5, Shin Megami Tensei 5.
Tell me things, because I've literally seen nothing. I think you're like the only person on my Twitter timeline who's playing it. So you're like the only person I get any news from of what this game is.
I became obsessed with it. In the same way this is the first game since Breath of the Wild where like I had to like force myself to stop playing it. It takes a surprising amount of influence from Breath of the Wild without feeling derivative at all. Like, it has these little dudes called Mimon that are basically Koroks, but they're just, like, better than Koroks. Like, and this is coming from someone who got all 900 Koroks. Like,
because you're insane.
The Mimon were meant to be, like, collected. Like, there's 200 Mimon. You're meant to get like all 200 if you want to. Like, it's not an excruciating experience. It's like it's a perfect mix between like having, because like Breath of the Wild has the philosophy of put them everywhere, so no matter where you go you always have a chance of coming across a Korok, and everywhere you go it's like useful. They have this like nice mix of that while also being while also still being like collectible. It basically, instead of having I accidentally hit my mic again. Instead of having to like complete some sort of puzzle, basically you can just see where the Mimon is, and then the like puzzle is just getting to them. So like they're basically just like little dudes that'll just be standing around like doing a little dance or whatever, and you have to just walk up and interact with them to collect them. And every time you get 5, Gustav, who's like the shopkeeper, will give you a little reward. It's different every time. And so like there were multiple times where I would like see one like dancing on top of a building, and then I just like had to find some way to get up on top of the building. Or I'm trying to think of some other good examples. Oh yeah, and also I guess minor spoiler warning if you're someone who plans to play this game, because I know it just came out like
maybe
just
someday.
over a week ago. I'm not really gonna go into detail, but obviously if you just don't want to know anything about the game before you go into it, then skip this section. But like,
I forgot we had an
every
audience.
time you
I
get
thought
to
you were
the
talking
end...
to me specifically.
Oh no.
Yeah, for them too, I guess.
Yeah. If you like at the end of every single area, there's basically 4 main like areas of the game, and there's 50 Mimon in every area. And at the end of every area, there's an NPC that you can find, a demon. I think it's called Cyranup or something like that. It's the first game that it's in. I don't really know how to pronounce it. But every time you find him, he'll like charge you like a shit ton of Maka, the money, and if you pay it, then he'll mark every single Mimon in the area on the map. So it's like this really nice blend of the entire time you're going through and you're finding them, and then you finally get to the end, you can then pay like a lot of money to have them all marked. So then like it makes going back and finding them a lot easier. But because you have to make it all the way to the end of the map first before you can do that, and because it's like a pretty decent setback in terms of money, like it doesn't feel like it's just like a cheap like waypoint system. Yeah. But yeah, it's I don't know, it's interesting. It has this like open world, like pseudo open world design. It kind of reminds me of like a Souls game in some ways, where it's like it's linear, but it's also open world. So, and like the more you play, the more open it gets. So like the very first area of the game, is like very standard. You start at the very beginning, and then you just kind of walk down the path. There's some like branching paths, but they usually have a dead end if it's not the, the critical path. So like it's pretty standard, but like the fun and exploration is in like getting there, like all the things on the way. There's so many like hidden little things, like for example, in the very first area, if you go into this little cave, you can find a bunch of pretas, which are the same demons that you got in Nocturne.
They do a little dance.
Yeah, they're all like sitting around a campfire and like starving, and so they ask you to go find some more of their buddies that they sent out to go do to go find them food. So then if you accept that side quest, then you can go and do that, and then you find one of them in this like little cave, and they're all worshiping this Apsaris, which is another like Hindu demon, I think, who's like, her claim is that she's protecting weak demons. By the way, the entire time you're in this world called the Netherworld, she's like, I'm trying to protect all these demons, these weak demons who can't really make it out on their own in the Netherworld. And like, she seems really great because like she's caring for like the people who would usually be stepped on, and like all the other demons are basically like worshiping her. And one of the predators is there, and you talk to him, and he's like, oh, are my friends want me back? He's like, well, I'm too busy worshiping Apsaris, like Queen Apsaris or whatever, so like just take this food and go bring it back to them. So then like, however, if you talk to the Apsaris, she gives you a side quest then to like go and kill this, I always forget to pronounce it, it's like some Celtic witch, like I think it's like Lennon Seed or something like that, or Lennon Side, but she's like, this Lennon Side is basically like trying to take like weak demons and tell them that they aren't weak, and like let them be trampled on by the Netherworld, and like all of the, because it's pretty like oppressive, like there's a lot of horrible demons around. So like, please go take down that Lennon Seed, so then you can accept that side quest. So then you go back to the pretas, give them their food, they're like, thank you. Then they don't have enough food, so they try to eat you, so then you have to fight them. But then like, you keep playing, and then eventually you get to this Lennon Seed, and she is like, actually the Apsaris is the bad one, because the Apsaris is essentially taking weak demons and trying to make them think that, and like trying to make them like loyal to her. That's why they're all worshiping her. Like, she wants to protect them. I, however, am trying to, like, make weak demons stronger so they can fend for themselves. And then you have to pick which one you want to fight. So, like, you have to choose, like, is it better to, like, protect the weak, or is it better to make the weak stronger? And, like, there's, like, all of that is entirely optional, and it, like, feels incredibly satisfying to do. And it's all done in, like, this, in a linear way, but not in a way that's, like, I don't know, it's so incredibly weird and hard to describe, because it made me feel just like I felt playing Breath of the Wild, but unlike Breath of the Wild, you don't just, like, start in the middle of a world and then you can just go anywhere. Like, you can only go forward, but all of that stuff was completely optional, and if I just wouldn't have gone left at one of the forks in the road and walked into that cave, I probably would have done, like, none of that.
Yeah, so it's still, I mean, I would kind of call Breath of the Wild kind of linear, just in terms of, like, there is clearly a linear plot structure and, like, kind of a way it wants you to go, but there's also a lot of optional stuff you can run into. I think that's more just how a lot of RPGs work, where, like, it's open in terms of, like, they leave a lot of extra stuff for you to find, but there's really one road you have to go down to, like, continue the story.
I guess a better way to is, like, imagine if when you got off the Great Plateau in Breath of the Wild, if you just literally couldn't go anywhere besides Kakariko Village. Like, there was just, like, it was physically impossible for you to not leave the pathway, sort of like how it's impossible for you to leave the Great Plateau.
Yeah.
Like, the actual first area is just designed so you can't, like, it's just one path, and it's, like, lined by buildings, and you can't go past the buildings. But, like, there's little things, like, hidden in the buildings, so it's, like, the process of exploring it. It basically makes it so you get the same feeling you had with Breath of the Wild, but without the, and I don't think this is negative, in fact, I think this is a huge positive of Breath of the Wild, but it's, like, without the feeling of, like, well, where do I go next?
Yeah.
Like, you always know where you have to go. It's always forward. But there are, like, so many things to find on the way that it gives me sort of the same feeling. And like I said, as you go on, the areas become more and more open, to the point where the very final area of the game is just straight up, like, you just start in the very middle of a map, and then you can just go wherever you want. You have, it's a lot like Breath of the Wild, like, you know what you need to do, like, you have a certain amount of goals you have to complete, and you can just do them in any order and go anywhere, and that's why it's easily the best area of the game. And it's kind of weird, because SMT is usually a dungeon crawler, and I could see from the trailers that this game was going to have a lot less dungeons, and so I was kind of worried about that. But it never bothered me, because the it's just, like, the world exploration is so fun of itself that, like, it sort of replaced the dungeons for me. And also, because there's no random encounters and you can actually see demons in the overworld, it makes, like, the process of combat so much more enjoyable, because, like, you very rarely ever get into combat without wanting to, and because there are now demons in the overworld, that opens the door so much more for, like, interesting things that can do. So, like, there are, for example, some, like, dungeons where they will literally have, like a demon standing guard over a certain thing, and like, if you want to get that item or whatever, you have to find some way around it, or you have to fight it, but it might be a really strong and powerful demon. Like, you couldn't do that really in Nocturne. Like, I guess you kind of could, but it just wouldn't feel as natural. But yeah, I love it. I finished it already. It came out a week before this last Friday. And yeah, I have issues with the story, but I don't really want to go too in depth on the story. Yeah, this early. It's definitely probably the one of the weakest parts of the game. It also made some combat changes from other SMT games I'm not a huge fan of. I shouldn't say I'm not a huge fan of, I should say, like, I don't know if I like more or not yet. And it's also extremely hard. Like, it's harder than, it's pretty quickly becoming known as, like, the hardest SMT game. But it's not done in an unfair way, and actually it has by far some of the best difficulty selection in terms of, like, the casual mode is, it goes casual, normal, and then hard. like casual is like actually casual. Like it's not just oh, now the game is like super easy. Casual is like, oh, you're new to the series and just kind of want to learn how it works. Like here it is. It's still the same engaging, compelling system. Like it doesn't completely trivialize it, but it makes it so like you won't be punished as much for
You
learning.
won't explode,
And then there's the normal mode, which is like where you're still punished for making mistakes because they expect you to already know. Like it literally says like casual is for people who are new to the series, normal is for people familiar with it, and then hard is for sadomasochists. So like yeah, I started it on hard because I was cocky, and I only got like I think after about 5 hours I switched back to, once I had gotten into like 3 random or not random encounters, but 3 encounters where my main character is basically just murdered like without me able to do anything. I was like, all right, I'm gonna go back to normal, and it was pretty good. It's
maybe I'm not epic enough.
Yeah. And the last things I'll say, and like these are some other criticisms, is and I know you were worried about this from watching the trailers. It does the whole like abandoned city in a desert thing for way too long. Like I said, there's 4 main areas in the game. There's more areas, but there's like 4 predominant huge areas that you spend most of your time in. And both of the first 2 are like desert area it's like desert but city. However, like the one difference is that like the second area is like the sand is red now, and it like feels like they expect that to be like make
Enough.
it feel incredibly different, but it's not. It just feels like more of the same. Every area after that though, every area after the second is like super cool and diverse. The music is amazing. Like there's like I genuinely think it might have my favorite video game soundtrack. But obviously it's kind of hard to go into detail without actually listening to it, so I won't. And then my other thing is that the one thing I will say about the story that I can talk about is that it's very poorly paced. Like you go the like first 10 hours of the game with like no new story developments happening at all. And then like I don't know, it like feels like the story doesn't actually start until like maybe halfway through. And then like once it does, it like I don't know. It's not I'm not a huge fan. It doesn't really start to like halfway through, and then it super rushes, and then like the endings are like yeah, it needed more time in the oven to cook up like a story. Like it has really interesting and compelling themes, and I think that it was on the verge of being great, but it just doesn't really reach that, specifically because of the pacing. I remember like it had a cool like setup at the very beginning of the game, and so like that was what was motivating me to keep playing. And so I would always be like, man, I can't wait to figure out what just happened, and then like I just wasn't figuring anything out. And then eventually got to the point where I was like, now I'm pretty much just playing because I think the gameplay's fun, which is, great.
It's fine. But it's a game, so it's valid.
Yeah, I was also kind of like, but I was interested in the story, but like nothing has kind of happened at all. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on it. I love it. It's a great first. It's hard, and I've heard a few people share this sentiment. It might sound weird considering I said how hard it is, but it's easily one of the best games to get into the series with, despite being so difficult, because it's like incredibly chill. Like I don't know how to describe it. Like it feels like it like kicks you in the ass, but like you're listening to lo-fi hip-hop beats while it does it or something. Like
a chill
like
ass kicking.
Yeah, like it's almost certainly harder than SMT3 is, than Nocturne is, but like the entire time it feels way more chill than Nocturne, and like less punishing. It's really weird to describe. But yeah, it's great. It's I don't think I like it as much as I like Nocturne, but then again, that's kind of my favorite. Yeah, that's my favorite RPG of all time. So like if I did, like that would be very impressive. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say on it. Play it if you're considering it. Hopefully they'll make a demo. The end.
Yeah, I would like for them to make a demo so I could see what the hell it is. I know you have a list, but I'm looking that we're a little over an hour, and I see the thing about like the GTA scandal. I actually don't know anything about it. So I really
Rockstar,
I want to hear
Rockstar
everything.
fucked up. That's
that you're aware of. The only thing I keep
Yeah.
seeing is people posting glitch videos on Twitter. I don't. What is happening?
I haven't played it myself, but I've watched a lot of gameplay because why wouldn't I? And also, like, my list is pretty much just things to talk about, so that way, like,
You fill
we wouldn't
time.
just be floating in the air.
Yeah.
So, like, we don't have to talk about everything on here. We already talked about the big things. But, yes, the GTA Trilogy. Grand Theft Auto, the Trilogy, the Definitive Edition, is a horrible version of these games.
Yes.
And it's made a lot better now because this was like a Warcraft 3 Reforged sort of thing where they took down the original versions of the game.
Oh no.
Which was like
You
the
can't
worst
do
part.
That.
But they recently brought them back up.
Well,
so
that's good at least.
now it's a lot easier to just laugh at them.
Yeah, say, no offense to GTA fans, I just like it when train wrecks come out and they're like funny train wrecks.
I know, I was basically saying like, yeah, this game is a huge disappointment, but at least it's a fucking hilarious disappointment.
Yeah, it's
They
like how like Fallout
super-
76 was like the funniest thing I've ever seen
Yeah.
for a few weeks.
Yeah. They use like AI upscaling and like smoothing for like almost everything, to the point where they literally there's this one, like, I think it's in San Andreas. There's a like a donut shop. I forget what it's called, but it's like themed around like nuts, like for
Great.
like mechanical nuts that you like
Oh,
screw
okay.
on the thing, not like you know,
Dick
not
and
like
balls.
testicles. And so there's like this giant nut that is sorry, just out of context, there's a giant nut, but there's like this giant nut that's like on the roof of the building, and because of the AI like smoothing that they did for the models, it's just not a nut anymore. Like, it looks like a fucking like huge thick washer. Like, because it's not like they just completely ruined the model and then didn't fix it. And then like there's a bunch of typos where like they would do AI upscaling on like textures that had like words on them, and then like the words wouldn't like upscale properly because, you know, it's can't really like realize that there's supposed to be a letter there. And then they just didn't fix it, so you like can't read any of the things.
Oh no.
There's like one of the most infamous ones is that there's a character who's wearing a like a jersey that says 9 on the back, like is the number, but you can also see that they just superimposed the 9 over a 7 and then like didn't get rid of the 7 really, like for some reason. So like there's just this like this like half opaque 7 underneath the 9. Like there's the obvious ones, like if you go like first person, well, you're playing like one of the games and you're on a motorcycle, because the games didn't originally have first person, and then like you turn the camera around while you're in first person, you just like see your character's face. Like they just put like a camera in front of the face. When you turn it around, you just see your character model's head, and then like he's just chilling there, like he's like staring into like the camera, like fisheye lens.
Oh my god.
And then like there's the classic of where like if you're in a car and then like you wiggle the car around weird or something, it just gets progressively like wider. It's great. It's
my
great.
favorite
I'm
video
very
that
happy
I
it
saw
exists.
is like someone, I don't even think they were driving, I think they were just walking around San Andreas, and then they like pan the camera over, and suddenly this car that's like not even driving on the road, it just comes at Mach speed, hits them, and then just like flies off into the sky.
Yeah.
And then the character just gets up and keeps walking.
Yeah, and it's
Like,
hard
what
because like these are pretty janky. Like these are pretty janky games, and then these are also based on the mobile ports.
Oh
So, of
god,
course,
why
a
would you do
mobile
that?
Oh yeah, of course a mobile port would add jank to already janky games.
This is double
And then they also like just made AI do everything and then put in like no work into this.
Yeah.
And
this
then
is-
also made like
why would you
kind
even
of-
make it then?
yeah, they it's bad. Like it's pretty bad. Yeah, I think they couldn't get like the rights to some of the songs that they had in the original versions of the game, so they had to take them out, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they couldn't get the rights again, because there's a shit ton of copyrighted music like from the radios, and so they took those songs out of the game, but they didn't actually take them out. Like they just made it so they couldn't play on the radio, but like all the
They're in
files
the
were still
code.
in the game, so it was like incredibly easy to get those songs back in. So then they actually had to take them off of the store because otherwise they could have gotten sued
Yeah,
for
of
like still
course,
having
you
the music in there.
idiot. Why wouldn't
Like
you just take it out of the code?
it's yeah. Yeah,
Jesus.
it's pretty it's pretty hilarious. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say about that, was just point out the fact that it exists and how happy
Well,
I am. I would have been incredibly sad about it still if they didn't bring back the original versions, because like San Andreas,
Yeah.
I haven't really played many of them, but I do know that like GTA 3 and San Andreas and Vice City's the other one, like are games that are like considered among some of the best games of all time, and so having them replaced like with Warcraft 3 Reforged with like such a bad version like kind of sucks.
Yeah, it's like
So the fact that they're
offensive.
yeah. So the fact that the originals are back means I can feel good about just laughing
Yeah,
at how dumb it is.
It's fun. Sometimes companies just make really shitty products and you all have to point and laugh.
Yep.
And make videos about it on YouTube.
Yep. So yeah, that's that. And then I'd say we have like two more things we really
Okay.
wanted to talk about. Well, it's up to you. The other one was the Animal Crossing update, because I know, and the
yeah.
DLC. I know you were playing that a lot. Do you really have much you want to say about that?
I can talk about this and I can talk about the other game I was kind of playing and just kind of smush them
Yeah.
together because I don't have a lot to say about either.
Somnium Files?
Yes. I
Yeah,
mean,
that
I
was
could
the
talk
second
about
one.
Somnium Files forever, but I also can't because then I'd spoil the whole thing. No,
Yeah.
but the Animal Crossing DLC, well, it was funny because I wasn't originally going to get it because I haven't played Animal Crossing in like a year and a half. I'm really bad at keeping up with games like that, and I got kind of bored of it. And then I went out for drinks with someone, and I got really overstimulated in the bar, and I just came home, and I just sat down and blacked out and bought the DLC. I'm like, I need something. And then I immediately became addicted to it. As one does. It's cause, man, I was addicted to like home renovation shows when I was little, so now it's just become like the Animal Crossing I've always wanted, where you don't have to unlock any of the furniture or anything, they just give you furniture and like a spare place to put it, and they're like, here's a theme, make a house for a character, and I'm like, yeah!
Mm-hmm.
Let's
Yeah.
go!
Did you ever play Happy Home Academy?
I did not. I didn't even realize that was for the 3DS. I thought that was the mobile app, which is how much I didn't know about it. And I was like, well, now that I knew this, maybe I probably would have played it if it was just a game that was like this. But I kind of like this better
That's what it is.
because it gives you all the stuff you unlock to like use on your own island and stuff. So I've seen a lot of like an influx in people doing all these tips on like how to make your island look cool, how to make bridges on your island out of like partitions and all these cool things you can make. And I like scrolling through that stuff too. So it's just fun. It's one of those things where I've put too many hours into it as like a band-aid for mental health fix, because it's just calming music and like putting furniture in a house and like rotating it. Just like,
No,
yes.
that's fair.
I will say like the funniest thing I found out is that like I think Animal Crossing, if you have Joy-Con drift, it just explodes and breaks. Or maybe I'm just unlucky, because I tried to undock it and take it in the car while we were bringing my friend back to college. And for some reason, because my Joy-Cons have always had like worse drift in Animal Crossing than any other game, and I've heard some other people say the same thing, but like it got so bad that like my buttons would just lock up and like the game would freeze, and I would have to go back to the menu and then like open the game again and like try to do it again, and it would like keep freezing every like 15 or so seconds, or like it would press buttons without my input, and I was like, this is very strange, because it works fine when I dock it. So I know it just has to be that something's going on with like the connectivity to my Joy-Cons, because that's also never happened with any other game, and it was only the DLC, so it was like, okay. And I think it might have just been because I was in like the item choosing menus, so I kept like rotating my items without my input or like putting too many in, and then it would just like freeze or like swing the camera weird, and I was like, okay. I'd say that's a complaint, but I feel like I don't know if that's a glitch that anyone else has run into. I guess that's a glitch.
It's actually
It's kinda
intended in a
weird.
feature.
Yeah, it's a feature, not a bug. You were meant to do that.
No, yeah, I don't plan to get the DLC at all.
Understandable.
But yeah, because I played Happy Home Academy and I just wasn't really that into it. I'm not really. I don't know. I'm not. I think a lot of people play Animal Crossing for like the design and like interior decorating and they like making their island. I'm not like that at all. I play it mostly for the villagers and for like character customization and just being able to like live in this world, and it just feels so nice and like fun. And so like when you make an entire game around like you can design things, I'm like, oh, it's cool for people who like that, but it's not really for me. I do want to check out the update though really badly, and I'm very surprised I haven't yet. Mostly I blame SMT5 for that.
Yeah, the update's pretty good. I mean, I was just kind of running around in it because I got confused like what the update added and what the DLC was because I couldn't really differentiate the two. But I did find out that like they have a call now so that you can like bring any of like the villagers that show up on certain days to your island on like different days when you need them. Which is useful, because I can never fucking get Red to show up on my island.
Oh,
I
interesting.
will never have paintings. But now I can force him to show up. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how you do it. I just know that's one of the things. And that Brewster was part of the update and not the DLC. He's fun.
Brewster is my boy, and he's like half the reason I want to come back. That's the kind
Brewster
of thing.
Brewster and Cap'n were both part of the update. Yeah. I like Cap'n.
Yes. That's kind of like my whole thing with I think with New Horizons is it feels like the entire game was built around like people whose favorite parts about like New Leaf was like building their town and like the sort of like just the design parts of it, like creating something, and it's sacrificed a lot of the other things for that. Like the villager dialogue was so much worse, and like they all just have the same voice based on their personality. So like every single like lazy villager has the same voice and so on. And like getting rid of like a bunch of the shop upgrades and stuff like that because they wanted to put so much more focus on like letting you like terraform your island, which is why I think so many people like love New Horizons more than any other game, because that's just what they're super into. But I was never into that. Like I never cared about like planting flowers around my town or like making pathways or anything like that. Like I was mostly just in it for the villagers. So then when the villagers are like so much less engaging, I think that's like 80% of the reason why I liked New Leaf more. Like I've played New Leaf, I think I've played it for longer than I have New Horizons technically, and I still feel like there's things in New Leaf I haven't done. But like, and this is different now because of the update, like, which I haven't been able to play yet, like I said, so I'm sure a lot of my issues will be fixed with it. But like before the update with New Horizons, I felt like I had to like force myself to do things, whereas in New Leaf I felt like I never ran out of things to do. So but yeah, anything else you want to say about the update before I talk about Metroid Dread and then
I was going to talk about Somnium for like 2 minutes.
Oh, right. Sorry. No. My brain stopped working. I forgot you didn't talk about that.
It's
I crossed it off when you mentioned the two things. I was like, all right, sweet. Cross both of them off. And then I just looked at my list and I saw the only thing I didn't cross off was Metroid. So
I had to talk about it for a minute just to force anyone who's listening to play it if they've ever heard of it or thought about it. Because it's important to me. This includes you.
After you play SMT5, then
of course.
Go to Somnium Files.
Like I can't really talk about the plot. It's a lot like 999 in that it's literally made by a team called Team Nonary Files or whatever the hell. Like you can tell there's a lot of references to that in there. But like even if you haven't played games like that, it's a very unique puzzle game. It's also very character oriented, which I like a lot. But like it kind of builds the world around the characters, and it also gets in. It's probably got like the best intro to any game I've ever played because basically it opens the game on like finding a corpse and then like the title drop, and then that's like immediately what you're into. I'm getting deja vu immediately. Maybe I've talked about this before on the channel. I have no idea. Anyway,
I think you mentioned it in your top 10 games maybe, but you didn't go really that in depth.
Yeah. I mean, I probably won't again, just because, like, there's a lot of story spoilers, because it's one of those games where basically every line of dialogue is some kind of foreshadowing to later, because they're really good about the dialogue. It's just, I don't know, it's a really good mystery game. I replayed it. I found a bunch of more things that I like in it. I really liked playing it with my friends and watching them in real time figure out the twist and then get really mad. Not because it was bad, but because like the way they like foreshadow it and stuff makes you like furious of how good it is. It's also just hilarious. I love Konami Dante. I'm very excited for the sequel. I'm concerned that like he won't be in it as much just because like spoiler reasons. Because like, no, I won't say anything. It's just that like I keep, because it becomes a character named Mizuki's story instead, who's basically his adopted daughter. So they show Mizuki in the trailer, and they show Aiba, who's like the puzzle character. She's like she's your detective's assistant, and she's a robot that lives in your eyeball. She also looks like a hamster and a woman. But they show her, and they show your, like, adult daughter character now. But they haven't shown anyone else, because there's only the one trailer. And I know that, like, that games like 999, made by the creator, he tends not to put spoilers to past games in sequels, or he tries not to as much as possible. So I'm worried that, like, some characters won't resurface and, like, explain what they've been doing for fear of, like, spoiling the original Somnium Files. Because I feel like the story could be continued really well. I don't know. I just think it's interesting. It's also incredibly gory. Like, too much at some point. Someone gets cut in half, and they don't censor it.
Well, I like Devil May Cry Baby, so it'll probably
it's
be...
fine. Yeah, be
fine.
I'm usually fine with gore, but, like, there was a point where, like, they get you so attached to these characters before things happen to them that, like, I hit one branch where it was, like, teasing that someone was in danger, and I'm like, no, they're not gonna, like, kill them this way, right? And then they did it, and I was just staring at my Switch, and I had to put it down and just start pacing the room for, like, 20 minutes, just, like, considering it. I think that's the mark of a good game, where I just have my head in my hands for a very long time. It also faces themes of grief and, like, child abuse really well, in a way I've never really seen a game do before, which is weird. Like, one of the characters, like, side stories, Mizuki, again, the one I already mentioned, but her thing is that, like, both of her parents were either neglectful or abusive before she came to live with the main character, so she's kind of asking you, like, what do you think home is? I think it's when you're so comfortable with someone that you don't even have to think about certain things, like, you just come home and you say, I'm home, and they just instinctively respond, welcome back, or something like that, and they reuse that line a lot. But there's also a point where there's, like, a flashback with you as the main character talking to one of her parents in a bar, and she's, like, talking about, like, I hate my daughter, whatever, this is all her fault, and you as the character, like, get really mad at this other character, and it's like, you're a terrible parent, like, what is wrong with you? Like, I just don't see that in the game a lot, where they're, like, unequivocally, like, abusive parents are bad, you should get them out of your life. And a lot of characters, like, openly grieve when other characters die to the point where, like, they don't talk to you anymore. And so it, like, closes areas of investigation because things get too sad. It's just really interesting. A lot of human emotion that I feel like a lot of video games just kind of gloss over for the sake of, you know, usual story plot progression. But they're like, no, we're gonna make you feel everything.
There's a line in, and here's a major spoiler for the original Shin Megami Tensei for the SNES, so I'm sure very few people who want to play that game haven't already played it. Yeah. There's and this is only in the English patch because there is no official English patch. Well, there's technically like one iOS port or whatever. It's besides the point. They the English like patch, they translated the part where you watch your mom get like eaten by demons. They translated one of the characters' reactions as "try not to feel too bad." And it's this like kind of this big meme because like you just watched your like mom get like mauled to death by a demon, and then that demon like turned into your mom and tried to kill you, and then like you're just like fuck, and then like one of your friends is just like, try not to feel too bad.
Don't worry about that.
Like he's basically just saying like stop. It's just really funny. So you're talking about like, man, just really human reactions. The very first thing that came to my head was try not to feel too bad. And it's not even in apparently like the actual Japanese. He says something like like I can't imagine what you're going through, or something that like makes a lot more sense. But it's just, and it's like
Very
only for
poorly
some reason.
translated.
Yeah. Well, it's not even poorly translated. I think they just were like very idiosyncratic about it. Like they were basically like saw it as that they were localizing it rather than
Yeah.
just translating exactly what they said. And it's not a bad like translation as far as I'm aware. I've only played like the first hour of it, and then I kind of had to stop because it was a bit too archaic for me. Which was like kind of saying a lot because I like to go out of my way and torture myself with weird old games. But yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, it is kind
Anything
of like.
else you have to say about Somnium Files?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that, like, it's kind of like that, like, even, like, the best of circumstances with, like, the Japanese translation where they're like, I can't believe I have no idea what you're going through or whatever. Like, usually with that, like, they'll only have a few lines and then kind of move on. In Somnium, when certain characters die, like, the rest of that story path is characters grieving. Like, you can't get anything out of these people ever again, because, like, too much bad has happened. And,
Yeah,
like, everywhere you go, they're, like, mad at you for not stopping. And, like, the voice actors are very good at crying while they speak. The voice acting in Somnium is incredible. Like, genuinely. Yeah, I don't know. It's just... Usually games don't get me to cry, but there's one certain... The puzzles are called Somniums, and there's one Somnium that gets me to cry basically every time, and it's one where, like... the daughter character is reliving a bunch of memories of her and, like, her not quite adopted yet paternal figure, like how hard he's been trying to, like, make things comfortable for her that she didn't realize, and then at the end she has to choose between, like, going with him and going with her birth parents, like, in a long hallway. It destroys me. I'm a weak person. So yeah,
I tried to find...
play Somnium Files, it's good.
Try to find what the original line was for that. The try not to feel too bad, but I can't. Whatever. Yeah, I'm curious. It's just, I don't know. It's pretty hilarious. I literally like I was looking for it while you're talking, and I found a Reddit post called like oh, I'm playing SMT1 and this part is super stupid. He's like, I can't believe my your mom just dies and then they just expect you to keep playing the game or whatever, and then just every single response was just from people saying try not to feel too bad, and that was just the entire comment. Like, it's a copy pasta. Like, every single comment is just try not to feel too bad.
That's community right there.
Yeah, and like it's like the most community driven meme you could possibly get, considering it's not even like in the games. It's only in a community version of the game.
So good.
But yeah.
Do you want to talk about Dread a little bit?
I will.
We die?
Play Metroid Dread. It's very good. Anyways, thank you for listening to the Game Link podcast. That's honestly pretty much all I want to say about it. Metroid Dread is fantastic. It's really short. Go play it. There's a demo now, so you have no excuse.
There is a demo now. I've been meaning to go look at it. I just haven't had the time. Because, like, right when the demo came out is right when I got my internship. So every time I, like, think about playing games, I'm like, I either want something that's totally mindless, or I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah.
It does look good. I like all the Samus memes I keep seeing.
They're pretty great. Pokemon just came out. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and
Shining
Shining
Pearl. Do you really
Pearl.
want to talk about that?
Yeah. I'm just kind of going over, like, very briefly. Neither of us have played it. Neither of us really plan to play it.
I have opinions, but, like, I don't want to. I don't want to make the Pokemon people mad and kill me. I mostly just have opinions based on, like, what other people have said. Because I was tempted to get it yesterday, because I was out somewhere and my mom asked me, like, a game for Christmas. So I was like, if I didn't have to pay for it myself, would I get it? And I was still kind of like, no.
Good question. I would definitely go for Mario Party first, personally, because I don't have it.
Yeah, I got Monkey Ball instead.
Like, if I had Pokemon, I would probably play it. But I don't really think I want to purchase it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I think that makes sense. Like, 60 is a lot for a remake that's, like, a little bit too faithful from what I hear.
Yeah, if it was, like, $30 or something, it would be, like, a no-brainer, but, you know.
Even then, I keep being, like... I think my problem was that, like, I'm not really a big fan of Gen 4 to begin with, and specifically, like, Diamond and Pearl. I don't really like Platinum either, but a lot of people understandably like Platinum more, because basically what Platinum added was... It was Diamond and Pearl with a bunch of quality of life fixes, which the remake, it's not based on Platinum, so they got rid of a lot of those quality of life improvements, and they've also, like, stepped back from a lot of the advancements the series had made since then, since it's such a faithful remake. Like, One of the problems from the original Diamond and Pearl is that I think there are only 2 fire types you can use, and I think they added like 2 more you can get in the underground. There's like 4 fire types.
Yeah.
In like until like the post game, and I was like, really? Or like I think they made TM single use again. They brought back HMs. I keep seeing videos of people like very easily glitching out of bounds, but that's the kind of thing where like I don't know if I feel like that's almost intentional, because one of the glitches I saw was apparently one that people used to be able to do using an action replay on the original Diamond and Pearl, and I'm like, that seems like the kind of thing you would have to add in, because it was so easy looking to replicate. So I did think that was kind of cool if they added a bunch of old glitches to like get to different areas. But I don't know, I could tell the game's rushed a lot, which kind of bothers me with Pokemon in general. Yeah. It's like, I don't want to pay for your games if you're not gonna give your workers time to do it.
It definitely feels like they didn't make it faithful in order to like, because that's like what they felt like would be best. It feels like they made it so faithful to like make it faster.
Yeah, and not even to please people, because a lot of people were really mad that they were making it way too faithful to Diamond and Pearl.
Right, and you can make like a faithful remake well. Like Link's Awakening is a perfect example of an extremely faithful remake that was very clearly like not done to save time. Like, it's a very good version of that game, and like they could have done that with this game, but they didn't. You know,
yeah,
it was very clear that they knew they needed to get out a Pokemon game every year, but they also knew that they couldn't keep up doing what they were doing, so they were like, let's outsource it and then rush the people that were outsourcing.
Yeah, that's what got me. I'm like, how did you crunch this other company? That's impressive, actually. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's probably why. I mean, my girlfriend seems to really be enjoying it, which I think is the thing that's tempting me more than the game, is just that, like, playing Pokemon and, like, seeing other people play Pokemon. But I don't like the visual style very much. I don't like a lot of the things they took out to make it super faithful. I'm just not big on Gen 4, so I'm like, if anything, I'd probably just go play Renegade Platinum on an emulator. I mean, legally. FBI, don't come for me. I didn't mean it. Don't worry
I am totally content in my little corner with Pokemon Coliseum, so... Anyways, and then the only other thing I was considering talking about is Monster Hunter Tri. The very best Monster Hunter game to ever exist, objectively speaking. They very finally... that game has an online mode, like every Monster Hunter game, but unlike every Monster Hunter game after it, it would connect to the server before it let you get in and do all of the multiplayer content, and because the servers have been down for years now, it would make it so anytime you try to go to the online hub city, it's called Loglac, it just instantly kicks you out. It used to be that like it would connect to the server, then you could just make like a private room if you wanted to do the online quests solo by yourself. But that's like more than half of the game's content. So like one of my favorite games of all time was like pretty much unplayable. Like you could play like half of the game, and then fans very recently finally cracked it so you can actually get into Loglac again, and I'm very happy. And I only wanted to bring that up so that way our massive audience will all know to go and check out Monster Hunter Tri, because it is, in my opinion, has the best atmosphere in like almost any video game ever. It's like that game, Super Metroid, and SMT Nocturne are like the holy trilogy of atmosphere in video games for me. And I think that everyone should check it out. But anyways, that's about it. Like I said, go play Metroid Dread.
Everyone
go play
go
SMT5.
Play video games.
Yeah, unless you don't want to, in which case I guess I'll...
No, I'm going to make
okay
you play
with that.
Somnium Files no matter what. I don't give a shit.
That's true.
That game is not popular enough for how funny it is.
Alright, well, any closing thoughts you have to say?
I'm wondering if we should set like a progression point for where we should be in our respective games for the next episode, because it was going to be a time thing, but considering you're somehow 6 hours in and still at Dirk when I was 5 hours in on my first playthrough in Gallipolis, I'm wondering if I should like force you to get to like a certain town, and you can like force me to get to a certain point, and then we can talk about it from there.
If I could have forced you to get to a certain point by today, I would have picked after you.
Yeah,
you
sorry.
Interact with Fornius. No, you're good. Because cause like I guess if you consider like the first hospital dungeon to be like the first like tutorial area, that would be like the end of it. And then, like, I feel like I'm hopefully at least getting close to the end of this tutorial area. So I guess we're probably both about the same, like, equivalent, even though I've played a lot more.
Yeah.
So why don't we just say, like...
Like, out of the tutorial area and, like, played a bit after that, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
Because your tutorial area like, basically ends when you get to Hotto, so...
About, like, 5 hours of, like, real gameplay, maybe? Like, meaning gameplay after leaving the first area of the game.
Yeah. That's fair. I was gonna say, because I think our original goal was like 5 each, but since you got 6 and are like still so in the beginning, I'm
I'm very slow.
No, you're fine. There's a lot of like optional character dialogue to get basically everywhere in that
talk
game,
to everybody.
So. Yeah, that's how I thought you had that much time, just like literally talking to every NPC.
No, I talked to everybody. I read every book. It's funny. I watched some reviews of SMT5 and people were like, man, I did most of the side quests. Like, I did a lot. It took me about 40 hours, and then it took me, like, 70 hours to finish SMT5. Like, that's almost double.
You just wanted to run around in the atmosphere. It's fine.
I mean, kind of. Also, I'm dumb as shit, so, like, it took me, like, because I got all the Memons, so it took me, like, way too long to find some of them. But it was fun. I don't regret it. I never felt like I was rushing myself, so.
Well, that's good.
Alright. Like and subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Follow our socials.
I will kill you.
Follow our socials. I'll just put them on screen instead of saying
they're at the end card.
Oh, they are? Okay, cool.
Yeah, they're always at the end card. Duh.
Well, I don't do the end.
That's true. Our Twitters are in the bio.
Yeah.
Bye.
Get out of my house. I don't love you. Fuck you.